All right, thank you so much for joining me in this video lecture. This is Gurpal Singh from Gurpal Education, and today we are going to talk about the most important topic covered under international business and business environment as well. So as you all know that we have gone through from number of video lecture series. So continuing that series for these two important subjects, this video lecture is going to be regarding uh, regional trade integration. Okay, so what are the what are the different kinds of regional economic and trade integration are there? So all these shall be discussed in this specific video lecture. So when we talk about regional trade integration, that ultimately means those integration between different countries, which ultimately promotes the international trade. Like there can be so many examples. There can be example of European Union, there can be example of Asian Development Bank, then ASEAN, Asian, then after that NAFTA, NAFTA, then SAFTA. So these kind of economic integration ultimately promotes the international trade. So in this video lecture, first of all, I shall be telling you what are the regional level of economic and trade integrations. So we shall be talking about a PTA, that is preferential trade agreement, then FTA, that is free trade area, then custom union, then economic union, monetary union, political union. So many things are going to be discussed. And after that, one by one, we shall be talking about the different kinds of economic integration, economic and trade related integration. Like I have already taken the name of European Union, then NAFTA, SAFTA, Asian, EDB. These kind of things all are going to be discussed in this particular video lecture. So maybe this video becomes somewhat longer, because after giving you the information regarding the levels of regional economic and trade related integration, I have to explain each and uh, every economic integration whichever is necessary from the point of view of our examination. So that can be the possibility that for more than 1.5 hours this video lecture can take. So I hope that you will be regular with that. If this is not possible to take continuously one lecture, then what we shall be doing, we shall be taking separate lecture, and after that we shall be clubbing that, and these shall be before time sent to you. So I hope you would enjoy this video lecture. This is going to be very important topic. So just see the screen being shared by me right now and enjoy this video lecture. All right. So you have already received the information about that. Okay. So regional trade agreements are going to be the first part of this complete video lecture. We shall be attaching all the video lectures to in this lecture. I think it's going to be for more than two hour. I think for more than this part, this is going to be, because we have to include each and everything under regional trade agreements. Okay, this will be a series of so many video lectures. Okay, so the first is going to be regarding regional trade agreement. After that we shall be studying World Trade Organization in detail. After that we shall be talking about International Monetary Fund. Then that there will be the turn of World Bank or International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. After that we shall be talking about some important regional agreements, free trade agreements, we can say. Like we have to study about NAFTA. Okay, then I think some more details are needed for SAARC as well. Then we shall be talking about so many things are to be covered. Okay, like SAFTA is also there. Okay, so all these international bodies are going to be covered in the upcoming video lectures, and that video lecture is shall be clubbed under the main head of regional trade agreements. Okay, because from here actually our actual part of understanding regarding how the international trade works starts. Okay, so this is actually how and where from all the process of international trade starts. So when we talk about international trade, about which we have already delivered number of lecture, and by now, as you have already gone through from theories of international trade as well. I believe that you would have the complete knowledge of how this happens. Okay, then this is very obvious for each and everything to be uh, enjoyed by the general population or the general populace, each and everything to be enjoyed by the general population, certainly there should be some of the governance of that. Okay, if each and everything is being governed, only then its true benefits can reach to the masses of people. This is why, just for this phrase, why there is government of all the countries. Okay, there is government of all the country, because government has to ensure the peace and tranquility in all the spheres of within their country, and they are responsible for the happiness, joy, peace, and tranquility of their citizens. Okay, so why I'm talking about that? What does it have in relation with our today's agenda or today's topic? Okay, so the reason of me talking about all these things is very simple. Okay, this is like we have started the series of business environment and international business, in which almost all the topics have been covered, and we have emphasized on a very important topic of international trade, that was the trade outside the boundary of a country, in which we have talked about imports and exports. Okay, imports and exports. So now you know that for import we purchase from other countries, and in case of exports we sell to other countries. But very obvious, I have already told you that if the benefit of something is to be reached to masses of people, then there should be governance of that. First of all, there should be governance of that. Okay, so then from this phrase you can easily make the conclusion that international trade is also governed. Okay, international trade is also governed with the help of international trade bodies, the names of which I had already displayed while starting this video lecture. Okay, so there should be the governance of international trade. So nowadays, how imports are being conducted, how exports are being conducted, how the process of all these things goes on, that depends upon the international trade agreements, which are also known as regional trade agreements. You would have heard the name of agreements if you have understood, if you have gone through from business laws, the first chapter. If you have gone through from that first chapter of business law, you would have heard the name of a contract act. Okay, contract act. So when we talk about that, in that the definition of agreement has also been given. Agreement is simply a document. Okay, this is a document in which all the rules, all the policies, all the regulations are written, which are to be followed for doing something. Okay, in the same way, in case of regional trade agreements, what happens? All the process, all the rules, all the policies, procedures, and regulations of imports and exports are written. So these are non-regional trade agreements. So I hope you would have got the idea. Okay. So what do we mean by regional trade agreements? These are those agreements which actually regulate your foreign trade. Foreign trade means international trade, or simply you can take the name of imports and exports. This is what the reason why I have taught you I have told you the complete story behind all that stuff. Okay, so just for sake of ensuring that the benefit of something are reaching to the masses of people or the general populace, we have to make sure that very thing is being governed by something. Okay, so if everyone has to benefit from imports and exports or the international trade, then obviously it should also be governed. Okay, for the governing of that
is done on two bases. We can just simply make the classification on macro basis. These international trade is governed, and on micro basis also this is governed. Micro basis, when you just form some kind of agreements with other countries so that you can freely trade with that. Okay, you just decide your terms of trade. And when we talk about the governance of international trade at macro level, then we shall be studying about some of the international bodies which about which the name I had already written. Okay, so I think I have already given information about that. In detail, we shall be talking about these one by one. But in this video lecture, we should be concerned about only regional trade agreements. I hope you have got the idea. Again, I'm just going to give a very, very simple example. There is India. Okay, so if India is making a trade agreement with we can say that Australia. Nowadays we are having very good relationship with those. Okay, so their foreign minister and its a counterpart and some other parties also came few days ago in India, and they decided some bilateral issues. Okay, so I suggest you to go through from daily newses as well. These are very important to go through from point of view of anything. Like we can easily relate these to our study as well. So if India form trade agreement with other countries, then in trade agreement, what happens? In trade agreement, all the terms of trade are written, like which things you can import, which you can export, what should be the level of barriers. Okay, and what should be the rate of tariffs on different products, what shall be the quality structure, or how it shall be inspected. So all these things are written in this trade agreement. So I hope you have got the idea. Like NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement, or SAFTA, these are some kind of, we can say, the trade agreements. Okay, so I hope you have again got the idea. So this is the trade agreement between the parties of a specific region. Okay, so here it's not that here should be only two countries. Here can be more than 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, or anything. You would have heard some of the very important names like G7, okay, G10, okay, then G20, these kind of things. Okay, that stands for group of 7, group of 10, group of 20. So in this way, the agreements, so many, in thousands number of myriad agreements have been established around the world, which regulates the international trade presently happening around the world. So how these are made? Okay, there are some levels. How these are made? There are some levels of these agreements, and these levels decide how much should be allowed in specific international trade agreement. Okay, so I hope you have got the idea. So now I'm going to teach you what are the different levels of regional trade agreements. So these levels tell you what should be allowed in the imports and what should be allowed in the export, and what should be the level of coherence or the co-integration between different countries. Okay, so one by one we shall be talking about that. Now I have given you complete story behind the regional trade agreements, and as one by one we shall be reading these. I must tell you, these are very important, not just once but 3-4 times these kind of questions have been asked. So the first level is simply the regional trade agreements. Okay, this is the very first level. This is the very simple level. Okay, after the formation of a World Trade Organization, these are being widely used. These kind of system are being widely used. And what are these? These are known as RTAs. These are agreements between any two or more sovereign nations. So these are the agreement between two or more countries of geographical proximity, means they are somewhat nearby to each other. Why they do that? For the purpose of economic and trade promotion, so that we can import from you and we can export to you. So this is why these kind of agreements are made. So these covers more than half of international trade nowadays. More than, we cannot say more than half, but I am certainly sure more than 90% of today's trade is being conducted on the basis of regional trade agreements. Okay. So these operate alongside global multilateral agreements under the World Trade Organization. As you know, this is the foremost authority. This is the supreme authority which regulates the world's trade. But alongside the multilateral agreement prescribed by the World Trade Organization, these kind of agreements are also in prevalence. The first 11 years of the formation of World Trade Organization after 1995 to 2005, there had been seen the multifold expansion of regional trade agreements. And now, to if you are asking me the question, what's the structure of RTAs now in 2021, more than 90% of the world's trade is being done on the basis of regional trade agreements, or the agreements made up by the World Trade Organization. So this is the structure of today's area. So talking about the level, so we can consider this the first level. The next is known as a preferential trade area. Okay, preferential trade area. What do we mean by that? When two countries like country A and country B, they indulge into a specific agreement known as PTA or preferential trade area, what happens to that? We can see that suppose both these countries are having specific sectors, like auto sector is auto sector is well established in country A, and this is well established in country B as well. Okay, so they are very good in making some raw materials of raw auto parts, and they are very good in manufacturing the output products of the auto parts. Okay, so they can just make a trade agreement with each other, both these countries, that we should be freely allowed to supply our services, and you should also be freely allowed to uh, give us your services. So import and export on the basis of some preferred sector, like this is, I have taken the example of photo, it can be any. Okay, it can be food industry, it can be banking industry, insurance industry, or any. If that ultimately gives a preferential access to certain products from participating countries, so what happens, they just remove or reduce the kind of tariffs. Tariffs are simply taxes on imports and exports. So they reduce or remove the tariffs or taxes, and they allow freely the movement of these preferred commodities. So this is known as a limited or sectoral based free trade area. So I hope you have got the idea. This is just a type of a free trade agreement in which what happens, some countries or two or more than two countries just make agreements with each other so that they can freely exchange some preferred products. So these can be sectoral based, or these can be on the basis of their agreement or policy understanding. So the second level is a free trade area in which what happens, it's not on the basis of a preferred commodity or a product, in which what happens, two or more than two countries just join their hands so that they can import and export freely for any goods and services, any goods. Okay, whether these are food and beverage, whether this is auto parts, whether this is any aviation industry or anything else. Okay, so they just allow each other to have the free movement of goods and services. This is known as a free trade area. Okay, so this ultimately includes a reciprocal removal of tariffs on non-member country goods. So reciprocal removal of a tariff, what does it mean? It simply means that when two countries indulge into free trade area, this kind of a free trade agreement, they indulge into that, they request each other that you should remove the tariff or taxes or duties on the import and exports with our country. Okay. And in consideration of that, the other country also takes the promises from the first that we shall also, that you are also supposed to remove the reciprocal tariff, taxes and duties, so that we can freely exchange our goods and services. Okay. So this includes reciprocal removal of a tariff on a member country goods. In FTA, each member is free within the limits specified by the GATT and World Trade Organization system on deciding the level of external tariff that will be applied to non-members. So what does that line mean? This is very important, I must tell you. That means that when two countries have their mutual understanding regarding, when they have their mutual understanding regarding the exemption or removal of the tariffs, then they can levy any kind of tariffs for non-members of FTA. Okay, non-members like country C, like country D, like country E. So that ultimately means if India has established free trade area with the United States, that then it is that it has to remove the tariff or non-tariff barriers for the goods and services in international trade with the USA only. Okay, and it is completely free to have its external tariff with other countries, like it can be Canada, it can be China, it can be Australia, or it can be anything. Okay, so just within the member countries of FTA, the tariffs are removed or reduced, but with the other countries, these can be at any level, but these can be decided by the individual country, but they have to decide taking into consideration the limits specified by GATT and World Trade Organization. So these are the supreme authorities. Okay, I hope you have got the idea. Two countries can join their hands for free trade area, and they can use any level of external tariff with other countries, but that level should be decided on the basis of limits specified by GATT and World Trade Organization. This is all about that. As there is flexibility on interaction between with the third party, with a third country, so many FTAs can be made. That line means to say that if India has created FTA with United States, it's not bound that it should have its FTA with only this country. It can in future make its FTA with Canada, it can make it with Denmark, it can make it with Australia, it can make it with China or any country. Okay, so there can be so many free trade areas and their own terms in a different kind of different kind of trade agreements of country. Like India is having so many free trade areas, we can say, with different countries. Then the next one is custom union. Okay, custom union. What happens? I'm just listen my example carefully, then you will get to know all about that. Okay, so there is India and there is United States. We are just taking the previous example, okay, of FTA. Suppose both these countries have formed a free trade area or FTA, we can say. So what does free trade area tells you? That tells you that India and United States should freely allow the movement of goods and services, like imports could be done and exports could be done with the removal or a reduction of tariff or cess or taxes. Okay, so it should be, that was the complete structure of FTA. And along with that, one thing I taught you extra, that with the external countries like Canada, there can be Australia, there can be New York, there can be so many countries. Okay, so regarding the external tariff of policies, these can be decided by the countries on the basis of limits prescribed by GATT and World Trade Organization. But what happens in the custom union, all these things are all right. All the things of all the elements or all the features of a free trade area are are certainly included in custom union as well. But what happens, the external tariff is common. Okay, they charge the external tariff with the other countries common. Okay, like whatever the external tariff India shall charge from Canada, United States shall also charge the same kind of external tariff with Canada. Okay, so if India is charging specific level of external tariff from Australia, then United States shall also charge the same external tariff level from Australia. So this is known as common external tariff policy. Okay, so although they people are free to decide their own, if their charging level, the charging tariff level is separate from each other, then this is the situation of FTA only. Okay, but if they have a common tariff external policy, both these countries which are the parties to free trade area, if they have the common external tariff policy, then that situation falls under the category of a custom union. Okay, so CU is a type of agreement that includes a determination of external common tariff in addition to elimination of internal tariff rates. So if FTA, we can easily say that FTA plus common external tariff leads to custom union formation. This is all about that. If we move further, this is known as common market. Okay, common market. So what is this? This is somewhat we can say the extended version of the previously learnt free trade agreements. Like we have gone through from FTA, I have already taught you custom union as well. Okay, and FTA, that was free trade area and free trade agreements. But the common market is we can see extended version of these things. Okay, this include factor mobility as well. When two or more than two countries indulge into some kind of agreements so that they can have free factor mobility. Free factor mobility simply means you can share your capital, you can share your investment, you can share your labor in addition to custom unions. So custom union I have already taught you. Okay, if in addition to custom union you are free to move your capital, like you can receive or you can provide FDI, foreign direct investment. Okay, you can just make investment into foreign institutional investor options, like share markets of some other country. Like today I can purchase ADRs as well. If I wish, I can purchase GDRs as well. Okay, so you can make investment, you can just move your labor, like you can experience that to Dubai or United Arab Emirates or some other countries, or labor is highly demanded. Okay, so you can take this example. So if we make custom union plus capital movement of, we can say movement of capital, investment and labor as well, that ultimately leads to the formation of a common market. So we can say common market is a market in which there is a free factor mobility, for example capital, investment, labor, in addition to custom unions requirements that determines the free flow of goods and services. So this integration require governments to employ coordinated actions, so that to ensure the equal treatment of all factors in member countries of common market. So in which what happens, obviously there should be the intervention of a government, because wherever there is the involvement of a foreign direct investment or the investment of some external parties into the uh, home share market, then obviously there shall be the government intervention. So it's just saying that member country should have coordinated actions as far as the actions of government is concerned. So there is one example of that. Okay, we can say CARICOM. This is Caribbean community of a common market. This is one of the example of a common market. Okay. So I hope you are enjoying and you have got the idea of all these three things. I'm not just going to move faster, okay, because we have to enjoy all these things and we have to cover all the things. So the first I have taught you regarding PTA, preferential trade agreement, in which I talked about specific products and specific sectors only. In FTA, I have talked about all the sectors within two parties with not having the common external tariff. But in case there was common external tariff, we named it as custom union. And after that, if along with the custom union, there is the factor mobility as well, that ultimately leads to the formation of a common market. So the next one is economic and monetary union. Economic and monetary union. What happens in that? In which the regional areas for which it is seen that the economy is the economy as a whole, not economy of a specific country. Okay, like we know that India is a separate economy, China is a separate economy, and Australia is a separate economy. Okay, but when we consider not the individual economies, not the individual currencies of different countries, if we consider all these things as one, then in that situation, this is the situation or the formation of economic and monetary union as well. Okay, so what's the case? What can be the best example? That can be European Union. Okay, so in Europe, you know, there are so many countries. You can take example of United Kingdom, France, Germany, Belgium. Okay, you can take so many examples. So all these countries, although these are having their individual economic identity as well, but in whole they are known as Europe, and we usually talk about economic situation or monetary union of Europe, because in all the Europe the currency is the same. This is euro. Okay, so we can simply say that that results from an enlargement of a common market with it, with the additional requirement of a harmonization of economic policies, both monetary and fiscal. So when in the countries there is the harmonization of both these policies, monetary and fiscal. I have already taught you monetary and fiscal policies in detail, and again I am just wish to remind you that these are very important from exams point of view. So it further involves the creation of independent regional central bank, okay, European bank. So it needs this regional central bank that can have control over the exchange rate policy and inflation rates. So I hope you have got the idea about that. If we are talking about, I think that's going to be the last one. This is complete integration. This is the integration in which, along with all the economic structure, all the monetary structure, but the political structure is also same. Political structure, again we can take the example of Europe, okay, because they have, we can say that at some or other point level they are having that structure. Otherwise this complete integration do not have any kind of specific example, I must tell you, because none of the country is willing to have complete political integration, because no country is willing, obviously, otherwise the powers will be diluted, and if this is the case, some countries shall be holding extreme kind of power which is not tolerable to developing countries. So this is the last case. Okay, so this is the complete integration. This is the type of agreement which includes harmonization of economics as well political policies, so as everything become a single state. We can take whole world as a complete integration. We can take to some extent. The reason I'm just going to give the possible reason of that. The possible reason is we have the International bodies, which are the political systems actually. These are World Trade Organization, International Monetary Fund, and IBRD, or World Trade or the World Bank. Okay. So whatever the rules and regulations are made in that, each and every member country has to bind itself with those rules and regulations. So we can say to some extent all of the world is having the complete integration, which ultimately results into free flow of goods and services between member nations. So I hope you have got the idea. Again, I'm going to give you some very brief description of what is going to be done. Okay, this was the first lecture of the complete series regarding the international trade structure. Okay, we have already talked about how the trade is formed and how this is done, how the different levels of agreements are made. Okay, we have already discussed with you all the international institutions which regulate our international trade, which regulates our foreign exchange, and finally which provides the liquidity or financial assistance in case of need to any country. When we talk about international trade, the only institution that is at supreme level, that is World Trade Organization. When we talk about liquidity and foreign exchange level, then we have to understand and we have to talk about International Monetary Fund. And finally, when we talk about the international level assistance or financial assistance, then we cannot spare World Bank. So these are the institution about which the video lecture have already will be delivered to you after this lecture, and I think it's more than 1 hour and 30 minutes. So that longer video lecture is there, or around 2 hours. I think that much is the length of that video lecture. I hope you would have gone through individually, or you can go through clubbed as well. So regarding the regional trade agreements, we have already delivered the basic lecture in which we have already discussed about the different levels of regional trade organization. If you remember, we have talked about preferential trade agreement, then we have talked about free trade area. After that, we have talked about custom unions. After that, economic union we have talked about, then complete union or the custom union, complete union in which political integration is there. We have talked about all these things, and while going through all these things, I have given some of the important names for regional trade agreements, and at that time I told you that we have to put all these on standby right now, because in the coming lecture we have to talk them in brief description. The only reason being, sometime the questions regarding individual international trade agreements is asked. So although there are so many in thousands, the regional trade organization nowadays, but still we should feel ourselves lucky enough that from our exam point of view, only 5 to 6 regional trade agreements would be suffice, and these have been repeatedly asked in our examination. So one by one we shall be talking about all these things. Okay, the first is the first thing we have to talk about is NAFTA. This is known as North American Free Trade Agreement. Okay, North American Free Trade Agreement. So about this we have to talk in this video lecture. So this is one of the major free trade agreement about which we have to talk. Okay, so as I have already told that one by one we shall be talking about all these things. So first is the turn of NAFTA. This is the North American Free Trade Agreement, a very famous one, and this is the agreement signed by Canada. Canada is the first country, then Mexico, and the United States. So this is the free trade agreement between Canada, Mexico, and United States. For what? For creating a trilateral trade bloc. Trilateral in the sense that it creates the triangle, and on the triangle, on each of the side of triangle, there lies one country. Canada is there, Mexico is there, United States is there. They have created a trilateral trade in North America. Okay. So the agreement came into force on January 1, 1994, on 1st of January 1994, it came into existence and it superseded. Previously, the previous free trade area was Canada United States Free Trade Agreement. And when Mexico joined that, its name was changed and it was renamed as NAFTA. So this is the structure, and this is somewhat history about that. You must know history of each and every free trade agreement. Then this has two supplements. Okay, NAFTA has its two supplement. The first is NAAEC, that stands for North American Agreement on Environmental Cooperation. This is the first one. We can say that the NAFTA has two legs. Okay, the first leg is NAAEC, then the second one NAALC, about which you are not supposed to go further in detail. Their names suggest everything. I'm going to give you somewhat detail of that. NAAEC take cares of environmental agreements, environmental related issues and agreements between these three countries. And NAALC stands for North American Agreement on a Labor Cooperation, how the labor shall be migrated from one country to another country. So that is supported by this agreement, that is NAALC. So now I think we have to talk about some role and functions objective of NAFTA, and after that we have to move to the next regional trade agreement. So what's the purposes of that? So Article 102 of this specific agreement, NAFTA agreement, that outlines its purpose. There are 7 specific goals of NAFTA. Okay, so we have to talk about 7 goals of NAFTA. We have to study as this has been said. Okay, because we cannot make any. This is not a conceptual. This is just a theoretical portion. The first is it grants the signatories the most favored nation status. Most MFN status is a status which is given to the countries which receive the priority for the international trade. Okay, whenever the export or import are done, these nations are given first preference. So the first objective, first goal, we can say that grant the signatories the most favored nation status. Secondly, it eliminates barrier to trade and facilitates the cross-border movement of goods and services. Obviously, this is the first and foremost objective of international trade. The next is it promotes conditions of a fair competition. It ensures there is a fair competition between all the market-related aspects of all these three countries. Then it increases the investment opportunities. Obviously, US can make its investment in Mexico and Canada as well. So these are the things. Then it provides protection and enforcement of intellectual property rights. As far as IPRs is concerned, so there has been specifically written in the NAFTA agreement that these shall be protected. Whichever is countries holding IPRs right now, they shall have the sole right over those. Then it create procedures for the resolution of a trade dispute. So whenever there are the trade disputes between this block NAFTA, then there has been a specific procedure which is already laid down in the agreement of NAFTA. Then it establishes a framework for further, if there is need for further trilateral, regional, multilateral cooperation. So it already establishes a framework for further trilateral, regional, and multilateral cooperation to expand trade agreements benefits. So I think these are the most important purposes. Now we have to see that what is next to us. Maybe this is the next topic or the next regional trade agreement. So I think whatever the detail of NAFTA has been given to you in this till now, that is much more than sufficient. Now we have to move to the next regional trade agreement or the institution, we can say, and that is ADB. Regarding ADB, once question was asked. So these why we are trying to cover all those institutions which are relevant from the exam point of view. The first is ASEAN. The first we have already covered, that was NAFTA. The second one is ADB, that is Asian Development Bank. Now we have to move one by one to the slides, and we have to see what is there for us. And we have already included only that much part of all these institutions which is necessary. Otherwise, each and every charter or every negotiation or agreement is extremely longer, that we cannot cover this uh, for longer period. So when we talk about ADB was set up in 1966. Okay, so it is headquartered in Philippines. It has 67 member nations, out of which 48 are from within Asia Pacific, and 19 outside Asia Pacific. And its main mission is obviously to reduce poverty of Asia Pacific region. Okay, so as you know, at the global level, there is World Bank, which has its 5 arms, about which we have already given information, like IFC, ITC. So these kind of things, IDC, these things were there. Okay, MIGA. So that performs at the global level for poverty reduction, or the quality, or the improvement of level or condition status of the people or the countries, member countries. But at the Asian level, or at the Asia level, Asia Pacific level, this is the specific bank which is performing the same duty, that is the reduction of poverty in Asia Pacific region. So one by one we have to cover its detail and its role as well. Its historical perspective, I think I have told you. Then we have to talk about its role. It was formed to foster economic growth and cooperation in a region of Asia and the Pacific, so that it can contribute to the acceleration of economic development of developing countries of the region. So its basic purpose, as you know, its basic purpose is poverty reduction. How it can be done? It can be done only if economic growth and cooperation is there, and this is ensured by Asian Development Bank. Okay, so it ensures that, so that ultimately the economic development could be done to all of the region. The basic objective of the bank is to encourage economic and financial cooperation among regional members. So I have already told you that ADB is there. There are members of international institution, there are individual member of the Asian Development Bank as well, and they cooperate with each other as far as the economic and financial cooperation is concerned. So this is ultimately ensured by Asian Development Bank, and the core objective is always remaining the same. Then its principal functions, whatever the regular function it performs, we have to cover those as well. Okay, the first is it make loans, it give loans, and it give equity investment as well for economic and social advancement of developing member countries. So it gives both of the things. Okay, it make an equity investment as well. Whatever the developing companies, industrial units are issuing their equity shares, ADB is also one of the subscriber to those. Then to provide, it also provide technical assistance. If you remember that I have, while talking about World Bank, we have given you information that it's one of its arm is performing the role of increment or the enhancement of private entities. Okay, so this is why they give the technical assistance as well. So at the global level, if World Bank is performing the technical assistance duties or job or assistance, the same job in Asia is being conducted by ADB. So it provides technical assistance for preparation and execution of development projects and programs, and it also provides advisory services like World Bank gives. Then it promotes investment of public and private capital as well for the development purpose. It encourages the social development, and it encourages the private development as well. Then I think this is the last one. This is it responds to requests for assistance in coordination
in coordinating developmental policy and plans of member countries. Whenever any country which is about to form its economic policies and its fiscal policies, if they need any kind of assistance in making these kind of policies, they can go to Asian Development Bank as well, instead of going to World Bank. So I think these were the detail. Now we have to talk about somewhat working. How does it work? How they get the funds and how they give the funds to other parties. So about that, somewhat detail, I think that has been covered in this specific slide. I'm going to give you that. The bank operates as a viable banking institution. It obviously it works as a usual bank. Okay, you can take the example of any bank. We can take the example of Canara Bank, UCO Bank, or any other regional bank. Okay, so it operates as a viable banking institution. It charges also. Okay, it is charging a flow of capital to the region from outside sources, from non-member countries. It receives the whoever take the loans from that, it charges from those as well. The bank's affiliate, it has its affiliate. Some of its affiliates are there. The first one is Asian Development Fund. Okay, like World Bank Fund is there. In the same way, Asian Development Fund, and it gives a soft loan to the poorest nation in the region. Okay, so soft loans are the loans which are given to the developing countries which are the members of Asian Development Bank. So this is all which is covered under the functioning of Asian Development Bank. And after that, the bank's operations cover the entire spectrum of economic development. Okay, so it is not concerned with specific policies, but it talks about, or it performs the duty to make the economic development as a whole. Okay, so the bank operation covers the entire spectrum of economic development with a particular emphasis on agriculture, energy, capital market development, transport and communication, and social infrastructure as well. And most of its financing is designed to support specific projects, like which are development in nature, which are of development in nature, like road construction or bridges construction, or these kind of things. So I think that was enough to study regarding the Asian Development Bank. Now we have to move further. We have to see what is next for us. If in this specific lecture, all the institution, I think 5 institutions are there about which we have to study. If this is not covered in this lecture, then we shall be delivering the next one as well. The next information is regarding ASEAN, that is Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Okay, so what is this? It was actually created on 8th of August 1967 with, first of all, the 5 countries. I must tell you, once I remember, member countries of ASEAN was also asked in the examination. Okay, so first of all, it was formed with 5 countries. The first was Indonesia, then Malaysia, then Philippines, then Singapore and Thailand. And they signed the original Asian Declaration. Now it is the association of a 10-member nation, which includes Brunei, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar and Vietnam as well. Okay, so those are the total countries, or total member countries of ASEAN. Then we have to talk about its purpose. Okay, so this is a regional intergovernmental organization. If you remember that while talking about international organization, we talked about economic union and political integration as well. So this can be considered to be a kind of a political integration as well, because they exchange range of ideas. So ASEAN is a regional intergovernmental organization that comprises of 10 Southeast Asian countries that promotes intergovernmental cooperation
how they make the cooperation, how these government of these nations make the cooperation. They facilitate economic, political, security, military, educational, social, cultural integration among its members and other Asian states. So these are the core areas for which the member countries of Association of a Southeast Asian Nation works. So I think that is the detail needed for ASEAN. Specifically, it performs the duties in these field only. Okay, it do not have specific kind of a detailed charter in which the role and the function of it has been written. So the next detail regarding this is it is a major partner of SCO as well. That is Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Okay, for developing cooperation model with the organization for the peace, stability, development, sustainability of Asian continent. So this is also the partner. We can see the partner of SCO, and in a partnership they that perform these specific duties as well. So it was preceded by an organization formed in 31st of July 1961. Previously, there was ASA, that was Association of Southeast Asia. Okay, that was the group consisting of Philippines, Federation of Malaya, and Thailand. So before ASEAN, there was ASA, and it was formed in 1961. That then need was there to make more countries the member of ASEAN. This is why the ASEAN was formed. So I think that was detail regarding that. If the functioning is asked, then this would be suffice. Okay, so what I have already taught you, it facilitate economic, then political, then security, military, educational, socio-cultural integration among its members. So these are the major functions performed by ASEAN. That much detail regarding ASEAN would be suffice. Then the next one is European Union. It includes the complete Europe. Complete Europe. Okay. So now we have to talk about this. Okay, this is the fourth in this video lecture. The fourth regional integration. What is this? This is the political and economic union of 28 member states. So you have to be aware of that. Okay, so I think nowadays the present detail, if I'm not wrong, that should be 27 or somewhat like that, because after the Brexit, if you were aware at that time, one of the country was removed from that. So you have to talk although these kind of details are not core which about which specifically the question is asked, but still sometime if I have told you, if you have in your mind, you can simply Google it, because I think I have prepared this a year ago. So the European Union is a political and economic union of around 28, we can say, member states that are located primarily in Europe. The European Union has developed an internal single market throughout standardized system of laws. Okay, so European Union is the union of complete 28 member countries which have developed a single internal market. Okay, everywhere there is one currency, euro. Everywhere there are same products. Everywhere there is same kind of exchange system. Everywhere the monetary flow and the economic fiscal policies are almost similar. Okay, so this has developed an internal single market through a standardized system of laws that apply in all member states and in those matters where members have agreed to act as one. So in some matters like flow of funds, flow of capital, and foreign exchange as well. So they all act as one. All these countries act as one, and they represent the complete Europe. Then European Union policies aim to ensure free movement of people, goods, services, and capital within the internal market, enact legislation, injustice. So within that specific area in European Union, there is free flow or free movement of people, goods, services, capital, or whatnot, each and everything. And they have the single legislation for making justices to the general populace for any kind of for any kinds relating to international movement. Then a monetary union was established in 1999. In the European Union, the monetary union was established and it came into force in 2002, and this is composed of that time that is composed of 90 European Union member countries which started using euro as a single currency. Okay, so now you can see that now tell if we are talking about today's detail, in almost all the countries euro is being used. Then but now as the Brexit, so we have, I think we have already included that as well, but now as the Brexit has happened, United Kingdom has decided to withdraw from the membership. The evolution of European Union has to pass through following stages. There were some of the stages in which the European Union was formed. The first was a Treaty of Rome, that was 1957 1992. You would have experienced that these kind of details are you wouldn't have gone through earlier, but I must tell you why we have included all these relevant things, because we have experienced that even the treaties for the formation of European Union were once asked. So Treaty of Rome was the first, that was held in 1957. So in 1957, Belgium, France, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, and West Germany, they signed the Treaty of Rome, and it ultimately created one organization in Europe that was named as European Economic Community. Okay, and it ultimately established the custom unions, about which I have already given you detailed under the separate head lecture. After that, the second treaty was Maastricht Treaty, that was held for within the time frame of 1992 2007. So European Union was formally established when Maastricht Treaty, whose main architects were Helmut Kohl and Francois Mitterrand, they came into, and it came into existence on 1st of November 1993. So the treaty also gave the name European Community to ECC. The erstwhile ECC was renamed as European Community, even if it was once referred as such before the treaty. Before the treaty, its name was that, and after that it was renamed as this. So this was the second stage for the formation of European Union. Officially it was formed at that time, but gradually it has changed with the changed time frame. And finally there was Lisbon Treaty. Okay, so that is 2007 and present. On December of 2009, the Lisbon Treaty entered into force and reformed many aspects of European Union. So its year has been written that, but idea was materialized in 2007, but actually in 1st of December 2009 it came into existence. Then in particular, it changed the legal structure of European Union. What it contributed, actually, the legal structure of European Union was changed, and it merged European Union into 3 separate systems. So merging the European Union 3-pillar system into a single legal entity. Before the Treaty of Lisbon, whenever the justice was to be given, there was the complete process which included the 3 pillars for delivering the justices, but it was ultimately converted into a single entity provisioned with the legal personality, created a permanent president of European Council. So ultimately it led to a new position which was named as President of European Council. So I think that was much more than sufficient regarding European Union as well. Now I see what is there, and that is regarding SAARC, South Asian Association for a Regional Cooperation. Now we have to talk about that, and after that we'll see what is there for us, and if something is remaining, we'll be covering that as well. So SAARC is the regional intergovernmental organization and geopolitical union of South Asia. Okay, so this is, as the name suggests, like ASEAN was there, ASEAN was there. In the same way, SAARC is there, but it has some different member countries. So it is same like that. And this is also the regional intergovernmental organization and geopolitical union of nations of South Asia. And it has its member states, which are Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, Maldives, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. In total, these are 8. Okay. About these member nations, once the question was asked, I am reminding you again and again. So SAARC was founded in Dhaka, the capital of Bangladesh, on 8th of December at 1985. Its secretariat is based in Kathmandu, Nepal. The organization promotes the development of economic and regional integration, the same thing what ASEAN was performing. Okay, so it is, but it is performing for core nations in Asia, like 8 countries. So it launched one of its affiliate or program, we can say, that was SAFTA, that was South Asian Free Trade Area, in 2006. SAARC maintains permanent diplomatic relations to United Nations as well. So it promotes the permanent relations with that, and this is observer of that. Okay, observer, like whatever the development of United Nations are there, it observes these and it tries to implement their beneficial aspects to the member nations. And it has developed linked with multilateral entities as well, like European Union, Asian Development Bank, and others as well. Then we can say that states with observer status which have not joined the full membership of SAARC, but they are observing that we should also be the member of that. These are Australia, China, European Union, Iran, Japan, Mauritius, Myanmar, South Korea, and United States. I must tell you names, you have to remember yourself, because I remember that at that time, I think I don't exactly remember whether my questions was right or wrong, but about these all 8 countries, 8 member countries, the question was asked that which of the following is a member country of SAARC and which is not. Then SAARC's secretariat was established in Kathmandu on 16th of January 1987, and it was inaugurated by late King Birendra Bir Bikram Shah of Nepal. So it was detailed regarding that. And regarding role and function, I think I have it's not that much needed right now. And this include the economic and regional integration. These are same what ASEAN performs for its member nations. So I think these are the most important regional integration, regional cooperation entities, or the different kind of integrations levels, like NAFTA, Asian, European Union, SAFTA. We have gone through number of things right now. That would be much more than needed. In case we feel that something is left, we'll be covering that as well. And I think in this video lecture, this is much more than sufficient. Regarding the previous lectures, we shall be sending you by today, because today I think this is complete. All the videos shall be clubbed and sent to you as soon as possible, along with the PDFs of that. So these was details regarding that, and if anything is left, we'll be contemplating that as well. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Gurpal Singh from Gurpal Education.